I think a just world is where everyone can live free and allow themselves to be who they truly are.
Justice is about more than just right or wrong. It's to be found where people and the whole of creation is able to flourish.
So my dream of a just world is where every child that's born into this world has an opportunity to reach their full potential. So they're not inhibited.
I think justice looks like equity and fairness, all wrapped up in compassion, coming right out of God's heart.
We all long for a world where we can be fully alive, to flourish, to grow in relationships. God is just and yearns for this kind of just world.
As Christians, we are called to do justice, show loving kindness and walk humbly with God.
This invitation is at the heart of a Methodist way of life. It can be seen in churches all around the country, in their action with communities, in caring and in campaigning.
At this time of great change in our world and church, what does it mean for the Methodist Church to be a justice-seeking church?
Over the past 2 years, the justice-seeking church process has been listening to what's happening in our church and our country and our world, and to what we bring from our history and our theology.
Based on this, the Methodist Conference has now agreed a framework to support the Methodist Church's action for justice over the next 5 years.
This framework offers principles, priorities and practices for justice.
It starts with what we believe, the 6 principles that underpin our understanding of God's justice, and what it means for us to seek justice. These are the simple principles.
God made humans in the image of God, each worthy of equal value and dignity.
The search for justice involves treating others with respect and may involve reclaiming lost worth.
God desires the flourishing of creation and human community within it.
The search for justice does not diminish or limit the flourishing of others, but seeks to enable it.
God consistently shows a bias to people experiencing poverty and those who are excluded.
The search for justice must attend to those who live in poverty and those who are marginalised in other ways as a priority.
God entrusts those in power with a special responsibility for upholding justice.
Those seeking justice will encourage and challenge those with power to fulfill their vocation.
God calls all people and nations actively to work for peace and justice, liberation and transformation.
It's never just someone else's responsibility. We all have a part to play.
God calls us to live in hope and in ways that reflect God's character and the pattern of God's kingdom.
Seeking justice involves honesty and truth and may demand protest and resistance, restitution, forgiveness, reconciliation, and ultimately transformation.
These principles will help us when we're talking together and with others about God's justice. They will also be a tool to help us in our discernment and when taking action.
I could use the principles to explain to others why God still cares about the world.
I think the principles for justice will help us in our decision making because it will make us question our own motives.
I want to use the principles in my preaching and my teaching to help people understand something of God and the kind of justice that flows out of a loving God.
We want to make a difference. So the Methodist Conference has agreed 5 key priorities for justice, crucial issues where Methodists can focus their efforts to make change.
These are poverty, the environment, refugees, discrimination and peace.
Many Methodist churches and organizations are already working to tackle poverty, to help refugees, to combat discrimination and climate crisis, and are working towards peace and reconciliation.
Having shared Methodist priorities for justice means we can focus our efforts on bringing about change.
This is about starting where we are, with what we're already doing, and seeing how we can support each other to increase our voice and our impact for good.
Let us work with people experiencing injustice to be more powerful in making a just world.
Methodists have always been on the side of the poorest, or at least they've tried to be. So making poverty a priority for us means that we can be more effective.
I've experienced discrimination and I want to be a part of a wider society working to end it so that the next generation does not have to face the same experiences I have.
Our church has been helping refugees, and I would really like to see our church being known for standing up for those people that are seeking safety.
Thirdly, we can use our practices for justice. This is about what we do and how we do it.
Acting for justice means responding to people's immediate needs, but it also means building relationships, using our power for change, changing the way that we live, standing in solidarity with people, and resisting injustice. All of these are Christian acts of justice.
But then we can reflect on how we act. Are people experiencing injustice sensing we are with them or doing things to them?
Am I seeking transformation or looking only for sticking plaster solutions?
How can I root my actions for justice in my relationship with God?
Reflecting on how we act helps us to look beyond just the short term, to enable sustainable, transformative change, and to ground all our action for justice in God.
Being a justice-seeking church is about being more confident in our calling.
It's about working together to be more effective.
And it's about shifting our orientation ever more towards our God who longs for justice.
We are called to be a growing, inclusive, evangelistic and justice-seeking church. Why not explore how the principles, priorities and practices for justice could help you shape the life and mission of your church and community?